This episode of the Pool Magazine podcast is brought to you by the Chlorine Genie. No chlorine, no problem. Start installing Chlorine Genie and discover why pool professionals are choosing this product over traditional chlorine generators. The Chlorine Genie is easy to install, easy to use, easy to service, and easier to clean than inline chlorine generators. Chlorine Genie uses a patented technology that chlorinates a pool without adding industrial chemicals. It even adjusts pH with the flip of the valve, reducing the use of muriatic acid. Stop dealing with chlorine shortages and paying for fuel to deliver chemicals. Start installing the Chlorine Genie and discover why this product was voted Best in Show at the Pool and Spa Patio Expo. Your clients will love Chlorine Genie and you'll love the additional profits. To become a certified installer, call 1-800-970-7616 and mention you heard about us on the Pool Magazine podcast.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of Pool Magazine Podcast. Today, we're chatting with Jeff Alsop from GPS Trackit, and they're going to talk to us about fleet management software and how it's going to help revolutionize the pool industry. But before we get started with that, Jeff, can you tell us a little bit more about GPS Trackit, what it is that you do, and what it is your platform does, and just give us a broad overview about what you do for the company?
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate being here, by the way. So GPS tracking platform is a telematics solution. So what we're looking at is an overall fleet management perspective for a business. So it boils down to your fleet vehicles, potential assets, dash cam solutions. So we want to look at a broad aspect of solutions and tools to better manage your fleet overall. So the goal really for us is to help companies run more efficient, more productively, create some return on investment on the way, limit some risks for businesses, as well as looking for those efficiency and productivity increases, creating more revenue streams for a business. So overall, when we create some return on investment and when we increase revenue, we get this nice big pile of cash back to a business that they can invest the way they want to. So creating more transparency, some things that are tangible, preventing things that are keeping owners up at night, giving them better visibility into their fleet operations and their business, just to create a better overall environment for their company.
Well, before we even talk about how the pool industry is using it, I mean, what are some other industries that use fleet tracking as well?
We kind of run a gamut. As a company, we kind of have a strategic focus on these field services businesses. So in relation to a pool company, right, we're looking at HVAC, plumbing, electrical, mechanical, lawn care, landscaping companies, your construction contractors, people like roofers, larger construction businesses. With the depth of our product line from asset tracking, fleet tracking, and things like that, we get into heavy equipment as well as trailer tracking for those other type of industries, and then also some over-the-road trucking as well. So really, we've got a real focus on the field services that the pool companies fall into. However, we can kind of run the gamut across an industry spectrum with our different solutions and hardware offerings that we can provide.
That sounds really interesting, Jeff. How long have you been with the company, and what is it that you do for them?
I've been in the company or in this space since 2004. So with GPS Trackit for the last 14 years, rotated into multiple different positions, running teams from an inside sales team to a Verizon channel team to a strategic account team. Recently, I moved into more of a major account manager role as well as a solutions architect. So my primary goal now is to work cross-functionally with our other departments, with our operations and our product and development departments to really build out a solution that's more future-proof, thinking about what's coming next, and then also work directly with the inside sales team to run presentations for large organizations and be kind of a technical resource based on these roughly 18 years of experience in this industry. So it's been a fun, new, exciting role to kind of take everything I've learned over these past almost 2 decades and try to apply that across the company.
Well, it sounds like you've been with them for quite a while. I mean, but GPS Trackit's kind of a new player in the pool industry, providing fleet management solutions for what is it, like almost 2 decades, right?
Correct. Yes, sir.
In that space of time, you're supporting over 12,000 fleets?
Yes, sir.
Wow. That's a pioneer in the video and telematics business. Tell us a little bit about how pool companies are using this kind of technology to streamline their operations.
Absolutely. I mean, first and foremost, with the pool companies I worked with, I manage a larger pool organization with multiple branches across the country, and then some here locally in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And one of the biggest focuses everybody's had recently is the aspect of driver safety. It's amazing what these drivers are due to be at the top of the pile when it comes to their safety scores. I was recently at a safety conference for the larger pool organization, and that was the big hit of the conference was who were the top 3 drivers, what type of rewards that they got for keeping their safety scores down. So that's been a huge focus with overall risk mitigation from an insurance standpoint, as well as this kind of becomes a game and a competition for drivers to be the safest driver. And if you think about that, that just filters down to an overall safer company environment and a culture shift and change for an organization when you have drivers that are cognizant of how they're behaving and how they're acting in the field with those company vehicles. I mean, you think in terms of what the 2 biggest CapEx expenses for a business are, it's generally, in this case, for a pool company, it's their assets and then their workforce. So if we have those things, those drivers utilizing their vehicles correctly and mitigating that risk that may occur from a claims and insurance standpoint, that's a big win for these companies. Other things they're looking for, I mentioned previously, that productivity angle, the efficiency angle, right? We're providing a service to our clients, and we want to make sure that we're doing that in an efficient manner. The more things we can get done per week, the more jobs we can get done, the increased revenue to a business. But at the same time, we also want to make sure we're spending the appropriate amount of time at each of those pools to do the proper job, right? In addition to that, from the customer service angle, we want to have that verification of what time did they arrive? How long did they spend at that pool? What time did they leave? And make sure that those cleanings or those services are taking the appropriate amount of time to be a quality type service. So they're looking for those things from a customer service standpoint to kind of have that proof positive of what they've done for their clients, that kind of job verification that comes from our solution. Some other things is these larger fleets, it's difficult to kind of keep track of maintenance. When we think in terms of smaller mom and pop shops, they just kind of leave it up to the drivers to make sure they get the oils change done, their tire rotations completed, things like that. And going back to my comment about one of the biggest expenses are those vehicles. We want to make sure they're maintained properly. Reducing wear and tear, mechanical issues, major repair costs can be easily curbed by making sure our PMs are done on time. So we provide a solution tool within the application that allows them to schedule services, to be notified when those services are due, and then log those services in the system so we can kind of bring them into the 21st century, right? Get off those Excel spreadsheets or whiteboards and bring them into the digital world where they have all that access at their fingertips to make sure their vehicle health is up to par. Lastly, the tangible benefit of what our solution does, right? If we wrap all that into one, we got better job verification, we got better safety happening in the field, we're more efficient with our job scheduling and dispatching, we're getting guys to the right places on time. The tangible benefit here is a better service. We got happy customers, and our reputation in the communities we work within is really good. So that increases our referral business if we're doing the right job in the field. So there's so many avenues that a company can take to think in terms of how do I create return on investment? How do I improve my overall company outlook within my community? And how am I more efficient and productive to the point that I'm making more revenue for the company? And we know how hard it is today with increasing costs everywhere, right? From workforce to shortages of vehicles. A big topic at that safety conference was the headaches that they've been through over the past year of just not being able to find chlorine tablets, right? They're going anywhere and everywhere to find supplies. And so when we kind of roll that all together, if we're able to play a part in the efficiency and the overall productivity of the business, then that's a win for everybody. And in terms of rising costs, in some cases, specifically some of these smaller pool mom and pop shops, really to maintain the business they have, they can't raise their prices necessarily, right? So how do we keep their margins up without having to raise the cost to their clients? We've got to find ways we can create return on investment. I think GPS tracking, some of the tools we offer, is a great way to do that.
Yeah, I think what really is the biggest issue these days is keeping an eye on all your employees, knowing where they are at any given particular time in the field. Are they going to their job site? Are they taking the truck home? I mean, these are the questions that a lot of pool company owners want to try to solve. And I think that's what adding maybe fleet tracking, video telematics, maybe that new technology helps answer some of these questions and makes the entire thing a little less nebulous for company owners. Isn't that right?
Yeah, absolutely. It goes back to that kind of transparency and visibility a comment I had, right? The pool industry overall and the field services industry overall is heading this way. The advent of video changes the game for them as well. Now we've got video for proof positive evidence from a safety standpoint, but I've had use cases where they'll put a camera on the side of the vehicle when the driver arrives at that location. They'll take a snapshot of the address to have that visual confirmation that a service has been completed there as well. So this is absolutely a tool that kind of brings them into the future, gives them that better visibility. Like I mentioned, one of the biggest questions I ask when I'm working with a new prospect is, "Hey, tell me what keeps you up at night." Right? Everything is emotional to a business owner, and if this is his baby that he's built over years, and he started with 5 trucks and now he's got 50. This is his livelihood, and we want to play a part in making sure that's secure.
Well, talk to me about some use case scenarios. I mean, if I was a pool company owner and I was thinking about putting telematics into play and getting fleet management for my company, who are some of the prime companies that this is a good product for? Is it pool construction? Is it pool service? Is it both?
Yeah, I definitely think it's both. I mean, when we think about the service aspect, it's all about the service you're delivering, and can we do that in a more professional manner? Can we do that in a safer manner? And I'll go back to my original comment. I mean, the feedback I've gotten from one of our local pool companies, Superior Pools, that's one of their number one things is these behavior scoring, and creating a competition out of drivers and making their drivers more aware of how they're operating in the field. And like I mentioned, that larger pool company, they have a big safety conference every year, and GPS is a headliner of that because it provides that actionable data for them and enables them to understand how their workforce is performing in the field. So when we think about GPS, how I like to couch it to our pool companies or our field services companies is it gives us a tool where we can identify information, we can act on that information, and then we can monitor that information. We got to inspect what we expect, right? So if we're able to manage by exception and find those outliers, we're able to just create a better working environment, a more efficient working environment for our company. And that's really the primary goal. And in turn, if we can do those things, we create that return on investment where this is really truly, I hate saying the word cost. When somebody asks me how much it costs, I tell them, listen, this is an investment in your business. You should see a return from this. After being in business for over 20 years and 12,000 plus clients, we know this thing works, right? So we've just got to better understand their specific use case, their specific needs, in order to show them what the best practices on a daily basis for them to accomplish what they're looking for. But primarily what we see is that safety aspect, understanding that job verification. I know we're going to get into fuel costs too, but trying to curb that excessive fuel usage, and that's the easiest and fastest way to create that return. And those are primarily the things on business owners' minds is how do I reduce my costs? How do I make more money? And how do I reduce my risk out in the field with the workforce?
Ever wish you could monitor your vehicles, drivers, and equipment in real time? Are you looking to improve routes, enhance job site planning, and save your business money? Well, with GPS Trackit, your wishes are command. When you integrate GPS Trackit with your company vehicles, you get a 24/7 view of your fleet, so you operate at crazy levels of efficiency. It's money-saving peace of mind that pool service companies deserve. Ever wish every day was Donut Friday? Us too, but we can't help with that. Talk with one of our fleet advisors. No pressure, no hassle. Call 1-844-969-1594 or visit gpstrackit.com to learn more.
Well, what are some of the ways that the software answers some of those questions? What does it do really? I mean, it gives you all this data. What can company owners do with it, with that data?
Right. You got a lot of data coming at you. It's almost getting kind of fed with a fire hose when you first get a system. If you're implementing it, you've never had it before, it can feel overwhelming. So how do we make sense of all that? And I think that's what we do a really good job of through some easy charting tools and dashboards. That comes into the identify side of things. We can see some comparisons of vehicles and or drivers that allows them to quickly get a snapshot of maybe where they need to have some conversations or where they have some deficiencies or some opportunities, in fact, to create a better working environment or better service. And we jump into a reporting aspect of the system to understand what our vehicles have been doing, where they've been, what they've done, how long they've been there. Are we, again, at a site for the appropriate amount of time for the service we're offering? And then we decide, okay, what are some, from a severity level, from a risk level, from an overall view level, what are some of those things that we want to monitor continuously? Things like idle time, things like speeding, things like driver safety events. A big player is after hours reporting. We want to make sure that our company vehicles are being used appropriately. We don't have any moonlighting. We don't have any extra jobs going on that we're paying for the materials for, but they're not our customers, those type of things. And we provide that visibility through the tools we have. You know, GPS is primarily about location, 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 right? So we're providing that. We've got the dots on the map. We know where your vehicles are at all times. But when we start digging deeper into the system, is where do we create those efficiencies? Where do we find those opportunities for return on investment so that your business can continue to grow? And in terms of when a company first starts out with GPS, it gives them kind of two schools of thought. One, I can do more with less, or two, it really helps me feel comfortable with the growth I anticipate. You know, you start with 5 trucks, and it's pretty easy to manage without a tool like this. You get up to 20, you start losing that transparency, that visibility that you're looking for, and you're not really sure if all the things you want are happening in the field correctly. And so we kind of give you that insight into your daily operations that you didn't have before. And it's a complete game changer when you start managing your business more effectively. And again, rolls downhill to that return on investment we create and that increased revenue back to a business so you can grow and you can reinvest in your company. And you may potentially get rid of some headaches and or you just feel more comfortable with where your business is at the time.
Sure. I mean, I could see from my research about the product that it does integrate with a lot of the popular partners and apps that are helping service the pool industry. Talk to me a little bit about that.
One of the biggest partners we work with is Service Titan. So we think in terms of scheduling, dispatching, different work order solutions. We're able to integrate those through an open API or an API key where we're pumping our telematics data into that third-party software. We're creating a more robust management tool for the company overall by being an open source platform and sharing our data with third parties. Gives the client a more holistic solution. I mean, our field is telematics. So we're not necessarily a Service Titan or another type of logistical software that these pool companies are using. We want to be the best at what we do and then partner with companies that are the best at what they do to create this kind of ecosystem or environment that really helps pool companies excel to their most.
Tell me about how I would put fleet assessment tools into place if I was considering a technology like this.
The beauty of the system with everything these days, it's web-based. So there's no software to download or purchase or anything like that. It's a web-based solution. Access it from anywhere online. We've got mobile apps that give them access to their fingertips, right? Depending on the company size, the owner might be out in the field on a daily basis, and he needs to have that mobile access to his fleet to where he can manage it even when he's on the road as well. So the simple software platform, very intuitive, very user-friendly to navigate. And then we've got a variety of hardware. I mentioned kind of that depth and breadth of the different programs we can offer, from fleet tracking to dash cam solutions to powered asset tracking to trailer tracking as well for those non-powered assets. So you've got a variety of device types, from a hardwired device you want to hide up underneath the dash, or plug and play devices, which is typically what I recommend. Easy, fast deployment with those plug and play solutions. It's engine connected, so we're getting really accurate data from the engine computer for things like the odometer value, the engine hours on the vehicle, diagnostic trouble codes that plays back into the comment I made about maintenance and keeping that vehicle health up. If vehicle throws a code, we know about that immediately so that they can take the proper steps from a maintenance level. From the heavy equipment side, I know from a pool construction standpoint, there's equipment they may want to track. That plays into our asset programs that are for inventory management, loss prevention. Also from a maintenance side of things for those pieces of heavy equipment. Can't tell you how many times anybody using trailers sometimes just disappear. So how do we keep better visibility on those with a simple low-cost solution to track our trailers, updating it, once a day, a couple times a day, up to 4 times a day. Just knowing where those trailers are periodically throughout the day can be really helpful from a visibility standpoint as well. So it's really nice is all that is housed on one platform. We can do all those programs, all those pieces of hardware on one simple solution where you're not having to log into multiple platforms at all.
You're in sales, Jeff, so I'm sure you get this question pretty much every day. What's the average cost for getting started? And if I wanted to put my fleet on GPS tracking?
Yeah, average cost, we do volume-based pricing. Our average cost starts around $19.95 per vehicle, anywhere from $10 to $15 on asset programs. So it really is affordable. And like I said, name of the game here is return on investment. Peace of mind is amazing, and that's kind of a tangible benefit to an owner. But I couch this as an investment in your business, not a line item cost. Is it going to show up on your monthly bill? Sure, but the goal here is to create an environment where we create a larger return than what you're spending. On average, we see roughly anywhere from a 4 to 3 return on investment. Now, how do we do that? Right? It goes back to a lot of stuff I've already discussed before. But if we're doing better routing and better dispatching, better job planning, we're using less fuel, less miles, right? If we're truncating our pool services into smaller areas per vehicle or per crew, then we're hitting more jobs per day and we're driving less miles. That's more revenue back to the business. Pool companies are taking that next step into our dash cam solutions. We're taking a higher level of risk reduction. So that can mean lower insurance premiums. That can mean less claims back to the business. Overall, we're getting a visibility tool into how our drivers are behaving. So within improved driver behavior equals lower costs immediately from a risk standpoint, as well from an efficiency standpoint.
Well, I was an IT director for a very large pool franchise in my prior life to doing this. And I could tell you that one thing I was always interested in was what was my return on investment? What problems was adding a new layer of technology going to solve for our company? So, I love the one thing that you have on your website, which is that ROI calculator. Talk to me about, what that calculator shows you and how you're able to assess those cost savings year one by adding a fleet management tool.
One of the biggest things is obviously fuel. So we want to look at things like idle time. We want to look at things like speeding. We want to look at things like rapid accelerations and vehicle behaviors. So we can kind of plug in the average cost of gas and look at idle time reduction of up to 30%. The simple math here is every hour of idle time is approximately a gallon of gas used. So if you start doing some math on that with the national average, crept down a little bit where we're still over $4, right? So on an average vehicle, if we're doing an hour per day, that's up to $20 a week in wasted fuel. It's up to $80 a month in wasted fuel. Now multiply that by a 25 unit fleet or a 50 unit fleet, you can see the exorbitant cost that comes into play there. So that's a big part of that RR calculator is understanding the fuel savings. The other aspect of it is payroll. It's something that people don't think about often, but we're giving ourselves a verification tool of exactly when we started our day, when we ended our day. In the pool industry and the field services industry, those work hours should correlate to that vehicle usage, right? Whether you're leaving from home and going back home at the end of the day, or whether you're leaving from the office and going back home to the office at the end of the day. A lot of companies in the pool industry, as well as within field services, use this as a spot check on those time clocks. So what's my first on, what's my last off, and running that against payroll. Typically on average, we can see up to an hour per driver per week saved in payroll. Well, what does that look like? So let's say we're paying our guys, simple math from my sales brain, $10 an hour. I know that's low, but let's say $10 an hour, we got 10 drivers. That's $100 per week in savings. That's $400 a month in payroll savings. Add that to potentially the $400 or $500 in idle time savings we got, and we're bumping up against $1,000 a month. And then I mentioned extra jobs. right? We're doing a better job of dispatching, a better job of trunking our jobs in a service area where we can get more done per day. We can typically see up to an extra job done per week. So what does that look like? Let's take, for example, in most of these service industries, there's a dispatch fee. If I show up to your house, it's going to cost you X. So let's say that dispatch fee is $50. So if we're doing an extra job per week, that's an extra $200 per month. That's an extra, what is that? 212, extra 20, extra 2,400 a year.
Yeah, it all adds up.
If you got 10 vehicles, do that math. That's $24,000 extra revenue back in your pocket by just adding one job per week because we're more efficient with how we dispatch or how we route or how we plan our job schedules. So, all of a sudden I got to that 3 to 4 to 1 return on investment pretty quickly, just through three factors: payroll spot checks, increase an extra job per week, reduce your fuel consumption through idle time tracking and speeding tracking. And all of a sudden that kind of thought of this being a cost goes away. And now I've got extra revenue back to my business. And what can we do with that revenue? I mean, that's growth. It's buying new vehicles. That's hiring new employees. That's upgrading my facilities. That's being able to purchase more materials, being able to service more pools. So it all kind of creates that downstream effect of growth for the company when we're creating these type of environments where we have cost savings from again our two biggest expenses, our assets and our employees.
No, you definitely hit the nail on the head with some of those things. I mean, I love the impact that it has on payroll, on vehicle health visibility, on solving a lot of those problems. But the one that you just kind of glossed over that I think has the biggest impact for pool companies, particularly right now, is the fuel savings. I mean, that's perhaps one of the most attractive aspects of adding fleet management, is that you feel those instant fuel cost savings almost immediately. And with rising gas costs, where drivers go, how their vehicles are used, I mean, that's a real big concern right now. We're talking about soaring prices, inflation impacting both the cost of vehicles, repairs. Better controls are needed, definitely. So, I mean, we touched base on fuel reduction, but we didn't really talk about, how implementing a tool like GPS Trackit can really impact your fuel cost savings.
So many different avenues that you look at and how do we reduce fuel, right? First and foremost, we think about idle time. I mentioned that kind of stat earlier. Every hour of idle time is approximately a gallon of gas used. That's just the starting point. That's the quickest and fastest way to find that return on investment. And as a business owner, if I don't have a tool like this yet, or maybe I do, but nobody kind of talked to me about best practices and how to use this to accomplish certain goals, then I don't know what I don't know. So if we've got an idle problem, that's first and foremost immediately return on investment by reducing those idle costs. But it goes further. Speeds affect fuel consumption and MPG. Higher rates of speeds, you start getting a diminishing return on your MPGs. So we want to monitor those high rates of speed, not only from a fuel consumption standpoint, it's rolling into safety. So there's downstream effects there. When we think in terms of harsh driving, right? We think about wear and tear or potential incidents. What we don't think about is every time we rapid accelerate, we're using more fuel than we would otherwise. And then we start getting into, all right, I want to dispatch more effectively. I want to get more jobs done per day. Awesome. Well, where does that affect? That means we're doing less mileage. We're more efficient with where we're traveling. We've got less windshield time. So if we're averaging 30 minutes between jobs, we're using a lot more fuel than if we were averaging 15 minutes between jobs. And so with less time between jobs, less miles per day, potentially, that's an additional layer of fuel savings. So you start rolling that all together between idle time and speeding and dispatch efficiency and things of that nature, you can really start curbing those excessive fuel costs. And that's a big part of where we see decreased margins across the service industry. Well, I see it myself in my family budget, right? It used to be $60 to fill my truck. Now it's $100 to fill my truck. That can make a really big dent in profit margins. So how do we curb that to where we provide quality services without having to raise costs too much to our clients, but still maintain healthy margins to grow our business and be profitable? And that is the fastest and easiest way with a tracking solution is those fuel savings through those different avenues that we can offer. And the primary goal of our solution is there's all those factors, but how do we display that to the client? How do we make it easier for them to understand? And again, it kind of goes back to that identify, act, and then monitor kind of workflow I like to preach to our clients and our prospects is we're giving you those tools to quickly figure out who my worst drivers are on idle time or rapid accelerations or speeding, and then start having those conversations to change the mindset, make them more aware of how they're utilizing the company asset in the field, and that changes immediately. I mean, you'd be surprised that there's always some pushback. I don't need to be monitored. I'm doing my job, but for a business owner, that's their livelihood. And the more savings we can bring to a company, there's some benefit to the drivers and the employees out there too, because when you start working in incentive programs for the proper behavior. And again, back at that safety conference, that was the highlight of the safety conferences when they announced the 3 best drivers of the year and these, extra PTO or these gift cards or these cash prizes these guys are getting. It really changes the mindset from, hey, this is Big Brother to, hey, this is now kind of a gamification of a fleet management tool where I benefit from it as well. So it's a really unique aspect to look at it that way. And I think that's what industries are doing. And specifically the 2 pool companies I work with the most, that's exactly what they're doing. And that's what the environment they've created where it is a competition. And that's just beautiful downstream effect of changes everything at that point. When your drivers are doing the right things in the field with your assets, all those things start falling in line. Less idle time, less speeding, less aggressive behavior. And then if we want to throw in video, now we got an extra layer. We got a bigger prevention model. Now we have a protection model when it comes to incidents where we have proof positive information of who's at fault. So, hey, start small. Let's get that GPS up and running. Let's see the return on investment. Let's take that next step in a video to provide you better protection, better visibility, and GPS Trackit can do all that for you.
Yeah, I think when you own a pool company or when you own any company, it's easy to die from 1,000 different little cuts, and that's what GPS Trackit kind of does. It solves a lot of problems. It answers a lot of questions that company owners may have about how their equipment's being used, where their guys are out in the field, and are they doing the right thing. I think it's a good opportunity for guys who are maybe interested in adding a fleet management tool to maybe check out GPS Trackit. Where's a good place to go? Is it your website if they want to do a demo with you, Jeff?
Yeah, absolutely. Go to gpstrackit.com. There is a simple form you can fill out. That'll go direct to our sales team. You'll be contacted immediately. Our phone number is on our website as well. It's 1-866-320-5810. Click on the sales line. Somebody's going to answer it and happily work with you on fulfilling your fleet management needs and your GPS tracking needs.
Well, very happy to have had you on the show today, Jeff. Super informative. Thank you so much for checking in with us to give us an education about fleet management and what pool companies are doing to use this tool as a way to save time and money.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate the invite. I appreciate being on with you today, and look forward to continuing our business in the pool industry as well as field services. And hopefully this helps.
This episode of the Pool Magazine podcast is brought to you by the Chlorine Genie. No chlorine, no problem. Start installing Chlorine Genie and discover why pool professionals are choosing this product over traditional chlorine generators. The Chlorine Genie is easy to install, easy to use, easy to service, and easier to clean than inline chlorine generators. Chlorine Genie uses a patented technology that chlorinates a pool without adding industrial chemicals. It even adjusts pH with the flip of the valve, reducing the use of muriatic acid. Stop dealing with chlorine shortages and paying for fuel to deliver chemicals. Start installing the Chlorine Genie and discover why this product was voted Best in Show at the Pool and Spa Patio Expo. Your clients will love Chlorine Genie and you'll love the additional profits. To become a certified installer, call 1-800-970-7616 and mention you heard about us on the Pool Magazine podcast.